Welcome to the I Do Wedding Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Nina Adio, a social media marketing expert specializing in the wedding industry. Each week, we'll explore the strategies, stories, and insider tips that help wedding professionals thrive. You'll hear solo episodes filled with actual advice for social media and inspiring conversations with esteemed wedding industry guests. Thank you for tuning in and letting this podcast be a part of your day. Let's get started. Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the I Do Wedding Marketing Podcast. I'm really excited to hear about where you guys listen. So if you want to message me on Instagram at I Do Wedding Marketing, or if you're listening on a platform like YouTube that allows you to comment, please comment below and let me know. It has been fun having YouTube to offer that more engaging element to it, and you guys get to see my mug of the episode. But with podcasts, right, with Apple Podcasts and Spotify, sometimes I have to pull you guys out and say, let me know you're here. Let me know you're listening. So I'm really excited to hear where you guys are listening from, because what's important to me on this podcast is being able to bring in different marketing ideas, right? So you know me, I'm all about social media, particularly Instagram. I'm an Instagram girly. And so we like to bring in experts who can talk about different marketing and networking and promotional advertising, all the different things for your wedding business. And I heard of a marketing concept that was new to me. Can you believe it? Now, we've had people on before to talk about email marketing, straightforward email marketing, but this was a different twist on it, and it's using educational email courses. What? So that is what we're going to be talking about today with the expert behind it. Sebastian Dziuk is a certified life coach, professional speaker, and U.S. Army public affairs veteran who helps LGBTQ plus and allied businesses thrive through meaningful and strategic content. With a background in learning and development and years of entrepreneurial experience, he specializes in crafting engaging educational email courses that attract quality leads and build real connection. We are all about that in the wedding industry. Sebastian's mission is simple: to amplify voices, tell authentic stories, and make your audience feel truly seen. I knew that this concept would be really enticing for us in the wedding industry, and I can't wait to learn more about it with you guys here. So let's bring on Sebastian. Sebastian, where are you coming from today?
Hi, so great to be here. I'm coming from the Twin Cities, Minnesota.
Ooh, very nice, very nice. Sebastian, can you share the great hack you just told me for when you're not sure how to pronounce someone's last name? They may have already set this up because they're used to it.
Yeah, so on LinkedIn, people have the option to add their name pronunciation right on their profile. You'll know this if there's like a little speaker icon by their name. And then you can just tap that and you'll likely hear the recording of how they pronounce their name.
I'm gonna do that because too many times I have to say adio like patio. Patio is the only rhyming word I can think. You were able to tell me joke like book. So
Exactly.
So, Sebastian, I was really excited to talk to you today because, I've, of course, heard of courses and I've heard of lead magnets, but I've never heard of an educational email course lead magnet. So, can you explain that for us?
Definitely. The term educational email course definitely throws people off. So you're not alone there. People are like, well, I don't want to give people a course. And I'm like, don't think of it as a course. Think of it as a high value proposition. And so it's used as a lead magnet to bring somebody into your business ecosystem. That's what I call it, your business ecosystem. It's an invitation. Getting in someone's email inbox today is very, very, very hard. Like we see all these websites and we're kind of interested, and say we're shopping for like a t-shirt and we get that pop up 10% off if you give me your email. And then what I hate, oh, give me your phone number too. I don't like playing the phone number game for sure. But How likely are you going to give your email? And if you do give your email, how quickly do you unsubscribe once you get the code? Right? So, our goal here is to give something of high value. Like people would pay 10, 15, $20 for access to this lead magnet. That means you created something of value. And that's what their email is worth. Being able to be in someone's inbox, that is a direct line of communication that you have with someone online. So I know so many people, especially in the wedding industry, because we can have beautiful photos and stand out with our specific style, you're still fighting the algorithm gods. And with email, you aren't fighting that. You might be fighting some spam filters, but there's ways to fix that. And there's ways to make sure that you're not going to end up in spam. So then the only issue is, okay, if I end up in the promotions folder, but again, all that is way easier to deal with than the algorithm gods. And so that's why I promote it so much. It's just a high value exchange to get someone's email address. And the main difference too is that saying it's a course, it just means you're showing up in someone's email inbox multiple days in a row. Think of it as like 5 deep dive blog posts that are very specific and targeted to your ideal client, and you're helping them solve a problem. So maybe it's taking the perfect wedding shot on the iPhone 16 or something. It could be that. People who have an iPhone 16 that are going to a wedding in 2 weeks, they'd be like, I want that. And so it's really bringing in your ideal person. Now, that might not be exactly what some of your listeners are looking to do with it, but that's an example.
So is this a course they are having someone pay for, or is this a free opt-in that has value?
Great question. So I use it as a free opt in. So think of it as their payment is their email address. Because then after they go through your entire course, you're also going to invite them to be like, hey, are you ready to book your dream wedding? Schedule a call with me here. And so that's the lead generating part of it is you're asking people to book a call with you. And then beyond that, with ideally you have a regular email rhythm that you're sending emails out to people. Now they're on that list and you just keep staying top of mind and nurturing them until they're ready to schedule that call with you.
What is the main difference from, in the wedding industry or in general, right? We hear people just teach about having different value-based follow-ups, but this is framed differently. So what are the benefits of framing this as a course?
Yeah, great question. So the reason that we're making it like a course, so often you'll see lead magnets as a downloadable PDF. And I think we see that in a lot of the creative industries. And so it's like, here's a PDF guide of the state parks in Minnesota that are perfect for a wedding. Okay, someone downloads it, they maybe read it once, and then they forget about it. It usually lives and dies in the downloads folder. So when we turn this into a course, you don't need to like get stuck on it being called a course as well. It's a series of emails that are providing education and providing value. And so instead of turning it into a PDF guide, you're going to talk about northern Minnesota in the first email, central Minnesota in the next one, southern in the third one, maybe hidden gems in Minnesota in the fourth one. And then the fifth email is like, how do I actually book a wedding for one of these state parks? And so making sure that you're hitting all these things that they're really curious about. And say your ideal client is someone who wants to get married in a state park in Minnesota or a state park or national park. Either way, they might be exploring their options, but there's somebody who's looking to get married in a park. Now you position yourself as someone who knows all about that, which is setting you apart from all the other people in your industry that they might have the experience and the expertise to help you, but they aren't showing it. And now you are.
I like that example you gave me because it immediately helped me to kind of frame it for my existing clients and so forth. I have one who's a specific destination elopement planner. And so imagining that he could have this educational sequence with each of the top elopement packages, while even filling in, how they're the ones that get you the private access. So yeah, you could take the information we're giving you and apply it on your own. But if you want private access, you're
going to need us. Or for really anyone talking about what you need to ask before a venue tour, or the information you need to know before a venue, the questions you need to ask, the engagement photo locations. So I'm kind of having fun brainstorming some topics, but this is me brainstorming it not as an expert. Do you have any other suggestions coming up as I'm kind of just throwing these out?
No, you are on the right track. So think of if you're a wedding planner, then you're helping the couple like figure out, okay, what kind of venue do you want? Where do you want the venue? And so again, I'm in the Twin Cities, and so say I'm a wedding planner in the Twin Cities, I can help people make their decision of what venue to find. And so the whole email course could be around how to choose the perfect wedding venue in the Twin Cities that fits your budget, fits your style, the amount of attendees that you
Yeah, and
want.
your
And
your guest count, yeah, and even
yeah,
tips for figuring out your guest count. I
yeah,
mean, for an invitation person, this could be the whole second half of the episode going over each
yeah.
category. Invitations, oh my God, they need to do this because there's the whole when do I send it out? When do I need the
Yep.
RSVPs? How far in advance? What time should I put
Mhm.
on the ceremony? Should I put it that
Yep.
earlier than it is? Like, oh, there's so much they can do.
Yeah, you can focus it on one part of it. And so what's really great is, okay, I'm going to help you find a venue in this email course, but then you give them so much value there. Now you invite them to book a call to figure out all that other stuff. And so that's how it's positioning yourself in the best possible way for them to actually hire you. And you can give them all that stuff up front, but if you solve one crucial problem for them, now they see you as someone that can solve all of their problems, and that can lead to the sale.
So someone listening may be overwhelmed going, well, I can't create a course. But how should we think about this? Are we creating a course or are we creating emails? And how many emails are we creating here?
Yeah, can definitely be overwhelming for folks who haven't done anything like this before, especially if you haven't played with email at all. And so think of it as a series of blog posts. So that's how I like to compare it, like deep dive blog posts. And so think like 800 to 1200 words. And think about when you go even to like the Not blog or something, you see how they format all their articles online? That's how you want to format your emails. So you're not just sending like a whole block of text over email. It looks like a blog post. And so when someone reads it in their email inbox, they're like, oh, this is great. And they can skim it. We want them to read every word, but people are busy. And so we give them a skimmable version so they can get the gist of it. And ideally, you have like really intriguing headlines and subheads, and that brings people in to read more. And
That's
as to
a
the
great
amount,
example, by the way,
yeah.
with the knot. I pulled it up as you were doing it, and I've noticed the trend change from like email newsletters used to be very visual, right? With
Mhm.
photos, and it looked like a whole edited thing, and now it's much more like a blog post.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I find that is more what people are looking for when it comes to email. And real quick to touch on, you mentioned how many emails. I recommend five or so, but it really, if you're doing like an ultimate guide where you are touching on all these points as a wedding planner, then you can call it like an ultimate guide and you can space it out. So for people who might know James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits, he has an educational email course that is about 30 days to developing habit. And so he doesn't send an email every single day, it's every few days, but it's over the course of a month. So you could do something like that, or you could have like 5 days in a row covering one specific topic. Because, like you mentioned, we don't want to overwhelm the reader either, but we want to give them a lot of value to position ourselves as that expert.
And now we're going to pause for a quick sponsorship break. Wedding pros, let me ask you something. Have you been thinking about running ads but feel overwhelmed by where to start, whether it's Google ads, TikTok ads, or Meta ads? It can feel like a maze. And that's exactly why the I Do Society created the DIY ads kits. Step by step resources built exclusively for wedding professionals who want results from ads without the guesswork. Inside, you're going to get ChatGPT prompts that write ad copy designed to convert. How do we know this? Because Mark Chapman and the I Do Society have been doing this for hundreds of wedding brands. You can even listen to one of his past episodes where he tells us all about TikTok ads. You'll also get Canva templates that give you scroll stopping images and videos that you can use for your ads. You'll receive how-to videos from the I Do Society team walking you through trending ad strategies and step-by-step guides so you can set up your campaigns the right way the first time. Here's the best part. When you grab your kit before October 31st, 2025, you'll save $200. After that, the price goes up to $597. The ROI on this is huge, guys. And when you want to work with an ads manager, that can cost thousands monthly on top of the ad spend. With this DIY ad kit, if you get it in October, you're spending just $397 plus whatever you decide to do for your ad spend. And the return on investment is all yours and a big opportunity. So I'm going to have the link in the show notes. We'll also link Mark's episode on the I Do Wedding Marketing podcast in the show notes. So you can check out TikTok ads and Mark's ad kits today. Do you have specific email marketing platforms you recommend when setting this up? I mean, I'll be honest, I am not an email marketing expert, so I just use what is ingrained within my website. So Wix has, email through that, so I'm just using that. Is that something efficient enough?
Yeah, another great question. So the technical side can definitely be scary, especially if you're not in the space. So first thing first is make sure you have a professional email address, not like myweddingbusiness@gmail.com. It's hello@myweddingbusiness.com, something like that. And that can be through your website provider or just through Google Workspace or something. Like I use Squarespace for my business, for my website, and that's how I have my subscription to Google Workspace. And then for an email service provider, I use kit.com. It used to be called ConvertKit. They just did a rebrand. And I use that because of all the different automations and different features. And they have this like creator network, so it's easier to get seen when people subscribe to other people's blogs. You might pop up kind of like how Substack does. But if you're just getting started and you're like, I don't want to mess this up, but I know how to use what I have, use what you have. Yeah. So like with Wix, the main thing here is we want to be able to automate things. So just like a lot of folks on here might be familiar with having a lead magnet, and that is an automation. People get to your landing page or the pop-up on your website and they sign up, and then magically an email appears in their inbox. And so just make sure something like that can happen. And with the educational email course, it's going to be something that happens over the course of a few days or several, depending on how long you have it, but it's going to be a continuous automation. So making sure that your platform is able to do that. Most of those can do that nowadays, but Kit just provides some additional stuff, but use what you have for now. And once you're ready to go even deeper into some of these automations, that's when to start looking at some other options. And the big thing to remember with all this too, I'm not sure how much of your audience is doing cold outreach. I don't think it's as common in the wedding industry to do cold outreach, but just to make sure that we're clear here, when we use email service providers like Kit, MailChimp, I believe ActiveCampaign as well, but also likely on like Kajabi, Wix, Squarespace. That is permission-based email marketing. People are opting in to receive emails from you. So you shouldn't be sending emails to people who did not actually opt in to receive emails. And so it's not like you're just scraping LinkedIn for emails and stuff and putting it on the list. That's cold email, cold outreach, and that's a different ball game. And so, but I imagine most people on here are not doing that, but I wanted to make that distinction too. Make sure that people asked to receive emails from you before emailing them.
I'm so glad you mentioned that because, while the bulk of our listeners are wedding professionals and don't do cold outreach, there are wedding service providers like myself, and I actually love cold outreach, but I feel I can't do it because, of those restrictions with emails. Is there a way to cold outreach? Or is it just something that if it's not a DM, I should just surrender?
There's definitely a way to do cold outreach. I won't say I'm as much of an expert in that, but I've done my own cold outreach being the kind of service provider I am as well. And the biggest concern here is making sure that your domain is not burned. And so that means you're sending emails to people and they're marking you as spam. Because if enough of those people do that, you get on a blacklist, and then when you try and email more people from your domain. So when I say domain, that's any email associated with myweddingwebsite.com. That means you're going to end up in the spam filters. You might not even end up in the spam. The email deliverability gods might just say nope. And so a lot of cold outreach experts, if you're doing mass cold, I'm talking like over 100 per day, then you want to get a separate domain that's similar to your current domain. So one that I tried for a bit, my website is dziukstudios.com. I had it at trydziukstudios.com, and that was its own domain. And so if that one got burned, all right, well, it gets burned. But cold email is not dead. Like, it's still valuable if you're doing it right. And there's other websites, if you want to automate that, you can use. One I know is smartlead.io. There's also, I think it's called Clay. There's several of them. But if you want an affordable option, one called Yam, yet another mail merge. It works great with Gmail, meaning if you have your email through Google Workspace, it works great there. And what I like about that, it's like $60 a year. So super cheap. And you just like create an email draft, and you have a Google sheet of all of the emails that you want to send something to. You can do some customization, but that can be a little bit more difficult. But what it'll do is it can mass send out emails, and then you can see if people opened it and if people clicked a link in there. So then you also, kind of a best practice anyway for cold email, is if you do include a link, only include one. And then if they click that, you know if they clicked it, and it'll show if they responded. So that's another way you can work on cold outreach, especially if you're doing smaller amounts.
I love that because also, if you are doing bridal showcases, wedding showcases, if you are looking to get on vendor lists and things like that, there still is a place where this could be useful. So I'm glad we kind of had this subtopic because I actually really I really love it.
Yeah, the other one option too is if you have a CRM that you use. I know HoneyBook is a popular one in the
Yeah.
wedding industry. I haven't dove into that as much, but I believe similar, you can send out emails through there. I use Zoho One specifically, and so with that, I can also create automations, and it's different. I don't need their permission to send an email when I'm sending it through a CRM, just because the rules are a little bit different. But there I can also like set up an automation for a cold nurture campaign as well. And even with those though, always offer them a way to unsubscribe, whether that's a link or ask them to reply unsubscribe if they don't want to hear from you anymore, because that's going to hopefully prevent people from marking you as spam.
Great. So you mentioned, kind of having a dedicated sequence or funnel. So in the wedding industry, like with any industry, we have follow-up sequences. So these are designed for following up with leads over several weeks or months to stay on top of mind. So would this educational course work alongside that? And then to be clear to our audience, this would be a different sequence, a different trigger, correct, than those who are filling out a lead form.
Yeah, so the lead magnet for the educational email course, that is an invitation for someone to enter your ecosystem. And so think of that as top of funnel. And when you're doing a follow-up sequence, that's slightly different, especially say you attended an event and got all those emails. You wouldn't automatically subscribe them to your lead magnet because that's not what they asked for. But you can enter them into your regular sequence. So if you send out weekly newsletter type emails every other week, monthly, whatever, you can add those people to that in addition to your normal follow-up sequence that you might have. What was the second part of the question with that one?
So really the goal is with this educational email sequence, they're going to essentially turn into a lead and get into that lead sequence.
Oh, yeah. So you talked about the lead form. So you're talking about like a lead form on your website.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that one's more of like, hey, I'm already interested in your services. Let's chat. You don't even need to worry about the rest because they're already interested. They're already reaching out to you. The goal is when someone signs up for your lead magnet, you want them to turn into that person who actually wants to get on a call with you. And that's where at the end of your educational email course, you have an invitation to hop on a call with you of like, hey, so I know I told you all about these wedding spots in Minnesota. Do you want help deciding? Let's hop on a call and do a free consultation or whatever you call your discovery call, and just invite them to learn more.
What does this look like when someone works with you to set these up?
Yeah. So it's definitely a lot of information, especially to deliver a little bit on a podcast. So if anyone's curious about an educational email course too, you can always Google. There's information. It's not as popular, surprisingly. So it's definitely a way to stand out right now. So you can try Google Ask ChatGPT, or yeah, feel free to hop on a call with me. I do no cost strategy sessions where we just start and have like a 45-minute conversation where you inform me more about like, hey, this is my business, this is what I do, this is kind of where I'm at, these are my goals. And then I'll help you figure out, okay, how can email marketing fit into your business? And so my primary core offer is creating these educational email courses for folks, but we can also look at the other sequences. So like you mentioned, follow-up sequences, making sure those are on point. And so it all starts with that no-cost strategy session to make sure that we're a good fit. And if for some reason it's like, hey, maybe you should focus on this other thing before you do email, then I have people I can recommend to you too. I want to help you as much as I can first, because for me, I offer a done for you implementation service. There's strategy and consulting involved with that. But I come on these kind of podcasts because I'm happy to tell you what to do. Hey, this is the strategy. This is why we're doing it. But not everyone's in a position to do it because maybe, hey, good thing you're really busy rocking your business and you're ready to scale. And to scale, you need other people, other doers who can help you with these other parts of the business. So I'm that doer for you on the email marketing side.
So speaking of that, are there things somebody should already have in place before they think about pursuing this?
That's an interesting question just because I've worked with people at all areas. I've worked with a graphic designer who had no email list, and this was just them getting started, but they were active on social media. And so they used social media to generate traffic to the lead magnet, which got them up to like almost 200 subscribers within 4 months. And then I've worked with folks who they have a newsletter, but it's kind of like a fluffy newsletter. Like they're sending out just random tips. And the big difference here is like, is it a lead generating newsletter? So folks who know that they want to explore other avenues to generate leads, that's who I am able to help the most. Folks who are open-minded on, hey, what are all the different methods? Because so often we're taught social media, social media, social media. It's one part of the equation. There is actually a recent chart that came out by Neil Patel, who is like a digital marketing expert. Email marketing has the highest conversion rates between ads, like social media ads, SEO, and organic social media combined. So the goal isn't to sell to people on social media. The goal is to get those social media folks onto your email list where you would convert them then. And so for folks who are open to like exploring that avenue, that's who I work the best with. People who are kind of stuck in their ways of like, I'm going to stick with what I know. Well, then it's kind of hard to teach a dog old tricks.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this. It's something we've never spoken about on the podcast before, for sure. Not a lot of people are doing it. I thought you invented it. I was like, I've never heard of this.
I
Great.
can't claim inventing it. I can't.
So Sebastian and I met through a speaker collective, which is really great. So those listening who are in the wedding industry speaker world, they do want to mention that, and I'll have Sebastian's links in the show notes. So Sebastian, you may not know this about me, but I have been dedicated this year to starting to establish a morning routine. As somebody who works from home, getting out of bed was very hard for me, and it's getting a lot better ever since I've been asking everybody I meet on the podcast about their morning routine. So, do you have a morning routine?
I want to be one of those people that has a morning routine. Some things that I've tried. So I have a toddler. He is 16 months old and he is my alarm clock. So the only consistent thing in my morning routine is taking care of him because he gets up. I'm the one that gets up with them and I take them to daycare. And then that's kind of when my actual morning routine can start. I've experimented with, instead of having coffee in the mornings, of making green tea matcha latte at home. Got one of those milk frothers and everything to make it with. And what is nice about that is there's a few steps to it. And so you have to be intentional about creating it. And then the mornings that I don't want to do that, I just have my Stokes cold brew coffee and I just pour that in a glass and it's great. But yeah, I'm definitely working on my own morning routine since becoming a parent. This is my first kid. It's definitely thrown off everything. And so if anyone else has tips out there for me, feel free to send me a message, especially ones with toddlers.
Yes, because we've had a few where when I ask them, they're like, well, the kids wake me up. Like,
Yeah,
like my morning, it's not my morning routine.
exactly.
Have you noticed a difference since switching to the green tea matchas?
Yes. So I made the switch because also I am just a big consumer of caffeine. And so the green tea matcha has really helped because it's a slower release of like the caffeine rather than a coffee. And what I notice is it changes how caffeine affects me in the afternoon because usually I'm like I need a little bit more in the afternoon, and so sometimes I'll even have another one in the afternoon instead of like turning to like an energy drink or more coffee, and it's made me less jittery. And less like that this feeling like you have to constantly move feeling.
Those of us watching on YouTube know that I am having a coffee. Well, I think you are having it. Are you having the energy drink
Oh
today or
no,
iced coffee?
this is actually Liquid Death, a new one, Slaughterberry, iced tea, agave, and vitamins.
Wow, good for you.
Yeah, I already had I had coffee today.
You did good. Well, I love,
Before.
so maybe my next season question will be about, do you have caffeine? And if you don't, what do you do instead?
Yeah, yeah. How do you function?
So, as somebody who, now you're a parent, you're running your business, you're an industry professional, speaker, and educator, right? How do you maintain your own education?
Hmm. I'm just kind of a nerd about business. And so it makes it pretty easy in that regard. I read business books and I get emails. I get like the AI report is one email I get every day, the marketing brew, the marketing millennial. I stay up with those, but I also make sure that I get rid of what I'm no longer consuming. So it's not just taking up space in my inbox, which is then taking up space in my mind. Because even if I just see a newsletter, so like one newsletter I used to love was by James Clear. He has a 321 newsletter, but I read it quite a while and then I just stopped reading. I'm like, I need to actually unsubscribe instead of just deleting the email every day because that's just like adding another data point to your mind. And what I've found is being ruthless in filtering has been really powerful and making sure that you're really honing in on the thing that you want to do. And so right now I speak, but my main focus is growing my own marketing agency. And so I'm making sure that the stuff that I'm consuming is around that. There's still some when I have a couple of talks next week, a talk on my main speaking side of things, but then I have a talk on email marketing. And so I'll freshen up on some maybe presentation stuff before then. But beyond that, that's more of an as needed basis versus the ongoing of building a business. That's stuff that I make sure to consume.
Maybe you need an email course on the best email newsletters for education to follow. Because I've already, you mentioned the marketing millennial and some others I want to check out. So that was really good. Where can our audience find you and learn more about your marketing agency and working with you?
Yeah, so I'm most active on LinkedIn. I am on Instagram, technically TikTok. Don't try and contact me on TikTok. I can't keep up. Instagram I do check, but LinkedIn is like where I mostly hang out. Otherwise, surprise, surprise, email. You can always email me, Sebastian at dziuk.com. I'm sure because it's hard to spell, it's DZIUK studios.com. So on there, you can also find my email contact form if you want to chat, or that's where you can also book the no cost strategy session.
Terrific. This was really insightful and something new and inspiring for us all. So I really appreciate you being here, and for our audience to follow you and maybe even message you on LinkedIn. Guys, do it. LinkedIn is the place to be, I'm telling you. Sebastian, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's great talking with you all. And like I mentioned if I mentioned it on here, my cousin is a wedding photographer. So the wedding industry is something that I've dove into a little bit and I just love.
By the way, guys, I forgot to mention, so I'm glad I did. If you mention when you reach out to Sebastian that you were referred from the podcast and you purchased the core offer, the educational email course lead magnet, he's going to throw in a free book a call sequence. So that's a $3,500 value. And getting this sequence down, I think, is really going to help you implement everything with the course. Would you say?
Yeah. So that book a call sequence is for folks who go through your emails and they click book a call, but they don't actually book the call. There's a way to catch those people. And so we create a sequence overcoming some of the hesitation or objections they might have had. They looked at your calendar, but they didn't actually book that call. So we want to make sure that we capture as many of those. Think of it as like an abandoned cart sequence, but for service providers.
Wow, so you can get really essentially 2 sequences for the price of 1.
Exactly.
Mention the podcast, guys, all right? Thank you again, Sebastian, and we'll see you all next time on the next Wedding Wednesday on the I Do Wedding Marketing podcast.